Hey Caleb, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm excited to be here. This is really cool.
Yeah, awesome. I'm happy to have you. I always like to start these off. I'm going to continue doing this. I want to know how you got started in this industry, and you can give our listeners a brief idea of what industry you're in, but I want to keep some of the suspense of what you do a little bit of a mystery. So give us the background. How'd you get to where you're at today?
Yeah, I mean, I came across this contractors advertising uh, in the newspaper, and then I saw a TV commercial, and then driving, it was like a radio ad, and it was a guy very well known, a guy by the name of Charlie Gandell, had a really nice window company in Orange County, California, and I was just sort of mesmerized by all the advertising he was doing, and so we connected. And I just started my company at the time. I just thought if you wanted a contractor to put new windows in your home, you call your dad's buddy down the street, and or you go to like the lumber yard or something. I never knew there was like these true sales and marketing companies in the industry, and or that the industry even existed. So I mean, I really owe it all to Charlie. I would take him out to lunch, once a week, once every other week, and just he would just, give me so much knowledge about the industry and where it was headed, and so I just digested that, and here we are today.
Yeah. So tell our listeners, what's the company and what do you guys do?
So Destination Motivation, we really focus heavily on a few metrics that's really help improve contractors' overall growth and just business in general. One is conversion rate. The second is cancellation rate, and then the third is helping to drive in more qualified leads. And we do this through a very specific system that we've proven. And it basically leverages a product that we built that we call a vacation voucher. And it's something that, people usually wonder, like, vacation voucher, what the heck is that? And rightly so, it's not a very common phrase, but it's good for a cruise or a resort stay, up to 7 nights. Not to get into too many of the specifics, but it's just a really cool product that gives people an incredible amount of benefit and really the ultimate experience. I mean, if your next vacation, would you rather spend 3 grand or $200? So it gives the homeowner a lot of not just perceived value but actual value. And so that's basically where we had started with Charlie in the industry. He was struggling to generate leads, and one December he ended up I ended up talking him in somehow to leveraging the vacations in his marketing. And after 20, 30 years in business, he ended up having his best December in company history.
That's awesome. It's fascinating too. I mean, I've got so many questions, and I'm trying to think where where to start. I think it's interesting that you heard the problem that he was having and connected it to, or gave him the incentive of here's something that may help you. Why? How did it get to vacation vouchers? Like, where did that idea come from?
I had a recruiting company in the mortgage industry.
Okay.
We Me and one of my best friends today, and it was a very interesting thing that we were doing. We were recruiting loan originators for our mortgage company clients, and we would team them up with these real estate agents. And the catalyst was like this. It was called like a cruise certificate at the time, and it was such a cool thing. Except for people went to go try to book these things, and it was basically impossible. And so I quickly understood that most of these companies that offer a product like this, they have a breakage model. All of them have a breakage model, to where they prefer and make it so that people don't use them, don't travel. So I thought, well, gosh, if you could create a product to where people could actually use it and enjoy it and have fun with it and get a ton of value out of it, then there's just so much application for it. And then, of course, stumbling into the home improvement industry, as I did, I found that, here's a high ticket item. It's extremely competitive. Companies and sales reps are constantly trying to figure out how to differentiate themselves. They're constantly trying to figure out how to create urgency. They're constantly trying to figure out how to be more profitable so they don't discount their deals too much and reduce their margins. And this is a value add that really enables companies to target all three of those areas. And it's really become extremely impactful. Not to dive too much into it, but with everything that happened over the last year, 100% of society having to give up their vacations. So,
Yeah.
When you talk about, hey, what can I offer my customer that's relative, that's, top of mind, that is, extremely valuable and heartfelt and emotional, like it just so happens that this is it.
Yeah, it's yeah, we're gonna dive into that because I think it's interesting and compelling, and I want to know, what how contractors are using it today, and sort of their messaging and positioning and all that sort of stuff. And you touched on this a little bit, but before destination motivation, what led you down this path, if you will? So going even
Yeah.
further back.
Well, I never loved school. I was more, I always had kind of that sort of hustle mode in me.
Mm-hmm.
And whether my dad liked it or not, he really taught me everything I know today, or every application I have today. Like he wasn't a business guy. He was the captain in the fire department. He tried to do little side hustles, and they always sort of, epically failed. And, my mom would always kind of, get in his dish for that.
Yeah.
But anytime, just anything I ever wanted growing up, whether it was a bicycle, whether it was, one of those remote controlled cars, whatever it might be, he would be like, even in high school, a car, hey dad, I really need a car. I got to take girls out to lunch, and he'd be like, well, all right, go get a job and go buy one. I'm like,
Right.
dad, I'm 7. Like, what do you mean get a job? And so I'd, go walk around and door knock and just talk to random strangers and, try to sell them stuff or wash their car or wash their dog or just anything. And I mean, that really taught me how to, a lot about business, about the hustle, about entrepreneurship, about being dedicated, being persistent, cold calling, being comfortable in that environment. They all kind of came out of these experiences with my dad.
Yeah, that's great. So how long has Destination Motivation been a business?
We are about 6 years in.
Awesome.
Yep.
And then what is? I know you work with a ton of top contractors. I mean, it almost seems like I'm going down, the list of like QR top 500. I'm like, yeah, they work with Destination Motivation. They work with them. They work with them.
Yeah.
I mean, what's been your approach to fulfilling their needs and building value for them?
We were looking at the numbers the other day, and I think we're working like 23 out of the top 30 contractors
Wow.
in North America. And I think as companies grow and expand, they start to see a different set of issues depending on, sort of what level they're at. One of the things that's, I mean, critical for a company to have is systems and processes. Otherwise, you just can't grow. And one of the ways that these companies are leveraging our program is really, okay, we're generating all these leads, right? But, we've got a pretty heavy cost for these leads. Maybe depending on the lead source, it's 100. Maybe for other lead sources, it's, 300 or 400. But at the end of the day, our program is specifically designed to help them capitalize on those leads. So offering the homeowner this experience to where they feel not only comfortable with moving forward with the project, because they're getting so much value and they look forward to that experience, but they're also not canceling because people buy emotionally. And then, of course, we have that 3-day right of rescission, and then they end up justifying their reasoning, logic sets in. So our program really focuses on that specific area, the emotional impact, and then also justifying it logically. So to where the homeowner sits there and says, gosh, this is just such a no-brainer. It's impossible for us to ever find a better deal than through this company.
Yeah. Do you think that these larger, I'll call them more enterprise companies, um, understand the way that this works better than maybe a company just getting started, or do you think they're both equipped to sort of handle or understand the value in positioning and offering this? I'm just curious. I see like a lot of
Yeah,
top companies using it. And I'm personally curious. Does the long tail of the market also use this, or are you just positioned to go after the more enterprise client?
I think a lot of companies, they understand it, right? But where our program fails is when it just doesn't get used, or it doesn't get used consistently. It's more sporadic. So I think, to answer your question, I think most people, they see the value in it. They're like, wow, that's cool. I could see how that could help my business. So it really comes down to like application of like, okay, do we have a sales process? And are we able to, sort of inject this into our sales process? And then, is the leadership at our company able to, create some accountability around that? We were just at a conference and we got a wonderful video testimonial from one of our clients, Bordner Home Improvement. Jerry, just the coolest guy ever. He loves the program so much and has had so much success with it that I just learned this last week. He actually docks his salespeople if they don't use it. So unless they use it on 80% of their leads, they don't get the bonus for the month.
Hmm. That's interesting. So do
It's
you
a
think
different
it's
way
more
of
of
looking
a,
at it.
yeah, is it more of an issue of implementation? You think like they see the value of it and the ones that are successful understand how to implement and use it and leverage it?
So we actually train. It's partially true. I mean, we train, and I mean, 90% of what we do is helping our clients inject this into their systems and processes. And I'll be perfectly frank with you. When we come across a company that uses Leap, I mean, we get giddy
Yeah.
because all of a sudden this little ding 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 goes off, and we're like, oh my god, this company understands it. They're going to get it. And every Leap customer we've ever had has been extremely successful with our program. So I think it comes down to like process and really mostly that.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree. I mean, there's some common thread among those top companies, and you can see it in even the technology and the tools and the programs that they adopt. It's like they understand the value, which I think a lot of people do, regardless of what solution you're looking at. They see the value, and then
I got to tell you this story real quick.
yeah,
We
please.
real quick. We had a client that we were having success with, and he was a guy. I think he had maybe like 3 salespeople, and he said, it's just there's too much paperwork, and it's just too much. So even though the value is like here,
Yeah,
it came down to like, it was just for whatever reason, he just, he's kind of the owner wearing a few different hats. And he was just like, it's just too much. It's not worth it. So we referred him into Leap, and he ended up signing up with Leap. And now he's back a client again and just having a lot of fun with it.
yeah,
it's,
that's awesome.
it's amazing.
It is. Once they start checking off the boxes, and we see this too, right? Once they're dedicated to improving their business and make a concerted effort, they start to adopt these things and just are able to scale and grow at a rate that's just not sometimes even in their vision. Like they're just able to do things that they weren't able to do, and it's by adding programs that are helping their business grow. But you see things like financing too that companies that are
Right.
successful are able to adopt, and so I think there's some commonalities and some thread there. I'm interested in like in the positioning? How do contractors that are successful position this type of incentive?
So a big part of launching a new client, but then also managing a new client is the training that we uh, engage with their sales teams.
Is this
And
hands-on training? Is this like in
yeah,
person
like
or
we do
like
it in
high
person and
touch?
Zoom. And I mean, we're telling them exactly how to position this, what to say, when to say it, how to say it,
Give us
all
some
of that.
examples. I want to
Yeah.
know some examples of how to
So
position.
like it's basically a three-step process. So the first thing that we do, and this is all based on like, sales 101 science,
Yeah.
but the first step is just to ask questions. And every salesperson is doing this as it is, trying to engage with the customer, trying to build rapport, credibility, all that stuff, likability. And so and it just so happens that these are questions that everyone's talking about every day, anyways, which is like, oh, do you guys plan on traveling this summer? Hey, has this pandemic affected your travel plans at all? Probably going to get some sob story. But what that does is it helps create demand, right? And it also helps when the sales rep finally brings it up, it helps it to make sense to the home. We're like, oh, I get it. So step two is just tell a story. And in sales, we know that stories sell. And so I'll just give you a story example, but the
It
sales
seems
rep,
it seems only logical that you'd give me a story about a story, right?
yeah, right, story
Yeah.
mode, yeah, yeah, why not? And so basically be like, hey, you actually picked like the perfect time to be thinking about replacing your windows. And I like saying that because obviously urgency is a factor in this stuff, and no one thinks it's a perfect time because of once the price comes. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you picked a great time to be looking at replacing your windows. Just so happens, with everything that's happened over the last year and a half, with people having to give up their vacation, our manufacturer really stepped up, and they've rewarded us with a handful of these vacations that we get to give out to the next few qualified customers. So good news, your job's going to qualify. You mentioned, earlier, blah, 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 blah. So you just tie it in. And then, listen, I'm going to play this 2-minute video for you. And it's going to help you choose which vacation you want, the cruise or the 7-night stay at a, condo, hotel, or resort. And so we have this wonderful 2-minute video that they watch, and gets them all fired up, creates a ton of value and excitement. And typically, that's when you're really starting to tug on emotional heartstrings. And sometimes people are like, that's not for me. I don't really, need a vacation. We don't travel much. Maybe it's an elderly person. And so we train the sales people to say, well, it is transferable. So, your daughter who's helping you make this decision, this might be a great gift for her. So you're always able to tie it in somehow.
That's great. Are they and do you have folks, and I imagine you do, but people that use it on the front end as a lead gen activity in their marketing?
Yeah. I mean, a year and a half, like 2019, maybe 15% of our clients injected it into their lead generation efforts. Now it's like 90% of our clients, again, because it's just top of mind, it's relative. So we're helping them put together TV ads, radio ads, direct mail pieces. We have some incredible show and event strategies, with scratch offs, you name it. I mean, we've got a template, or and we just kind of we know what works, right? So there's no reinventing the wheel.
Yep. So, Caleb, I think this is really cool. I want to dive in maybe or step back a little bit instead of diving in. Step back and just curious. What does your day to day look like? As CEO, founder of this, like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, well, typically I pull up poolside with the martini first thing in the morning. Um, yeah, no, it's we work in the HVAC industry too,
Yeah.
so mornings get pretty early for us because clients want to do trainings at like 7 a.m. East Coast time. So thankfully I have people spread all out. So, but sometimes everybody's busy, so we have to do very early mornings. But
You're on the road a lot too. right?
I'm on the road a lot. Yeah, we've been traveling a lot. Getting back into the conference thing, which is fun. It's exciting to see a lot of people. I love the in person visiting clients.
Yeah.
Was just up in Wisconsin visiting one of our clients, doing an in person training. Um, Not gonna lie, it's hard to follow up a guy like Brian Gottlieb. But yeah, yeah, he went on before me. I was like, no, go
Yeah.
after.
Yep. Yep.
But it just so happened everything he said was just so incredible and kind of tied right into our program. So, but the fact that we get to go spend quality time with clients, it's something that I've always. I think that's one of the things that has helped my company be successful is just building personal relationships with clients. I mean, some of our clients have become my best friends. I
Yeah.
mean, I had a couple clients. I had one client, a couple clients at my wedding, one client in my wedding. He's turned into like one of my best friends. So I mean, I just love that.
Yeah. That's awesome. I want to know, what was it like, when the pandemic hit, and cruises are getting battered, and airlines are getting battered, and people are shutting down and staying home, and then
Yeah,
home improvement industry is going up because everybody's at home and they're like they got to do stuff around the house, and
yeah.
they're looking at these projects. And meanwhile, you've got a great product that's a vacation voucher. Like how did that impact you, and what was going through your head when all that was
I
happening?
mean, to be totally transparent, it was something like this. Like the home improvement industry was going this, and my company was going like this.
Yeah.
Now this was all because really there was just so much. I mean, the whole travel industry turned off, right?
Right.
And
Right.
it just so happens that's one of our flagship products. So um, typically not a good thing. However, we did have some clients that kept us on. In fact, one of our clients was Window Nation, and they had a guy named Terry, sales guy named Terry, who ended up closing 5.2 million last year in
It's
2020,
awesome.
and he
It's
used
awesome.
over 350 vacation vouchers, even when most clients paused us because there was so much sensitivity around offering something like this. And frankly, I don't blame them. That
Hmm.
it was funky and weird, and there was uncertainty. Like no one knew where things were going. People were stuck at their home, and it was like, you're offering vacation. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Um, so we really had to pivot our messaging. We ended up doing a lot of like I'm sure you guys did a lot of webinars,
Oh yeah.
um, but we pivoted our messaging, and that we just kept pushing forward, and that really helped us going into the fall. And then now the beginning of 2021 up till now, over the last 6 months, I mean, we've had contractors that have come knock on our door that never gave us time of day, but just the way that we pivoted things and the way that things have happened, it just kind of made more sense.
And what's it been like today? I imagine. I mean, the pent up demand to to leave the house, like fly the coop, like it's just insane. And even I was looking at an Airbnb the other day, and it's just like either they're all booked up, or it's
Yeah.
the price is just so high. It's like
Good
it's so
luck.
hard. Yeah, the
Yeah.
demand is so high. I mean, are you seeing the same sort of trends on your side?
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
Florida, nobody goes to Florida in the middle of summer.
Right.
It's insanity. Everything's sold out. You can't get a
Yeah.
place to save your life there.
Yeah.
We do have backdoor entrance to a lot of these properties. So, I mean, our 5-star reviews have just been going through the roof. I think we had like 40 or 50 5-star reviews just this month. Um, all of that comes from what you just mentioned, people not being able to really book anything on their own. All of a sudden, they stumble across this vacation from one of our clients. And by the way, they're now working better than ever because the second you offer, it's like, yes, I'll take that.
Oh
Yes,
yeah. Right.
that looks good to me.
Yeah.
And because people have been looking at prices, and you get two types of people: either A, can afford paying extra and they do it, or they're like, it's way out of our budget. No
Hmm.
thanks.
Yeah.
Um, so it's very interesting how things have kind of unfolded here.
Yeah, I imagine that that the it's even more of an incentive now because they see this and they're like, yes, we looked at it and it was just outrageous expensive, for us to go on a vacation, but now you've brought us this and we're going to take advantage of it. So I imagine the demand is super high. What are you most excited about going forward?
You know, for us, we get so giddy and excited about how we are really affecting our clients, overall business growth. And
Mm-hmm.
the numbers that have been coming back in, the impact that we've been having, I mean, that's what just gets us fired up. It really does, and really drives us, into our own company's growth and expansion. It's just so exciting to see some of the. I mean, like companies that had 22, 23% cancellation rates that now have like 5% cancellation rates. I mean, that's like millions and millions of dollars that we're
Yeah.
saving for them. Um,
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, I gotta start charging more for these vouchers.
Right. As, as vacation costs go up, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I gotta imagine, if I'm a sales rep and I've got this, at my disposal, like I am just salivating. Like this is like, yes, like I'm walking into a home and these people I know, are have been cooped up for 18 months and they're wanting to go do something. And I've got this as an incentive. I think that'd be, as a
Well,
sales rep, I would love
we
that.
just had a client, solar client actually, and they were like, they weren't anti our program, but they were kind of like, they just weren't quite sure what it was or how to really look at it. And so we started working with them and training them and training them and training them and I just met with them last week and they're like, dude, we're so stoked that you guys like kept us, moving forward with this program because we're saving like $1,500 a job right now that we used to have to discount, and now that's pure profit because we're
Yeah.
leveraging the vacation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Times
That's
that up
awesome.
by 50 jobs a month, it makes a pretty big impact.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you. Obviously you're well connected within the industry. I mean, where do you see this industry going in the next 3 to 5 years? I feel like if it's come so far in the last,
Yeah,
I always equate this back to like when I was doing roofing and I was introduced to Eagle View. It was like 2008 or something. I'm like, wow,
yeah,
this is amazing. Like I don't have to get up on a roof and measure it. Like this is awesome. And since then, I kind of point that as like a moment in time where from that time from 2008 until now, it's just like the amount of solutions and technology and products.
yeah.
It's just exploded since then to help this industry. And so, curious, where do you think it goes in the
Well,
next
I
three to
mean,
five years?
you just nailed it. I mean, I think technology is going to continue to change and evolve the industry in more ways than we even realize. Um, I was thinking about I was actually thinking about that earlier this morning, and I kind of got like Elon Musk in my head, and I was like, well, at some
They're
point
coming
here,
out with a robot.
with the work shortage, I'm sure robots are going to start installing siding at some point here. I mean,
Yeah,
Elon
yeah,
Musk is going to come out with a construction robot, at some
yeah.
point, I'm sure.
I mean, there's with all the challenges around labor and stuff. Like, doesn't that make sense that there's a robot that can install your windows or
As
install your
far
siding
out
or
as
install your
that,
roof?
as far out as that seems, I mean, I don't think it's really too far out at all.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's amazing. And what do they say? It's like you underestimate what can happen, or maybe it's overestimate what can happen in 10 years and underestimate what can happen in 5 years. It's like it seems like a long time, but really it's right around the corner. Like it'll be here before you know it.
Another thing that I think is interesting is I feel like, with all the private equity coming into the industry and stuff, and it seems to me that it's more on the map than it's ever
Mm-hmm.
been, which I think is good for the industry because you start to get a lot more people knowledgeable about it and excited about it, and I think that helps when when there is a work shortage, getting people back into those uh, trade schools and things like that,
Yeah.
and knowing like, wow, you can generate an unbelievable amount of income for yourself through this industry. It's
100%. Yeah. I'm right there with you. We've got a few more minutes left, but having talked to so many contractors, where do you see them making a mistake most often, and how do you think that they can go about avoiding it?
well, I think like a lot of contractors that are still in early growth phases um, seem to somewhat they don't have necessarily the systems and processes in place. But I think if they would have had those in place at the beginning, it would have made life a lot easier and um, growth a lot more painless. I see that a lot. Just spending so much money on leads, but just basically burning them.
Mm-hmm.
In a campfire.
Yeah.
Um, because they don't have these systems and process in place, sales process, things like that in place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to jump the gun, right? You throw money at the front end of the funnel and get all these leads in, but then don't invest the time and resources to get your sales process right
And
in
then,
the
and
back
then,
end of your
honestly,
business.
the most successful companies that I see out there, it's all about the people. I mean, they just
Mm.
have the right people in place. They have uh, they treat their people right. I mean, they have very little turnover. I see those. When I look at who are the most successful companies out there, that's a commonality between them.
Yeah, absolutely. Caleb, again, we're about to wrap this up, but when you're not working, what do you like to do?
I am doing something always. I surf, I snowboard, um,
Outdoor stuff, huh?
all kind of like action sports kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, and you're
yeah,
you're in Southern California, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
when you go and ski, and you're going to where?
Well, I mean, we go to Mammoth a lot,
Okay.
but I've been to Japan snowboarding. I've been all over. I mean, it's definitely a passion, and it's
Where,
fun to kind of go experience new places through that sort of
through
way.
that
Like
lens, yeah.
we went up to Whitefish, Montana a lot this past winter. Um, that was awesome. The one cool thing about Southern California, and really the one driving force that keeps me here, is the weather. But you can surf and snowboard in the same day.
That's crazy.
I did that
Yeah.
all the time growing up.
Yeah. It's not the taxes that keep you there.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's that, and the homelessness and everything else. It's
Yeah.
kind of funny though when I'm around at these conferences, people are like, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from LA." But and then you go in about 17 different ways to
Yeah.
justify like why you're there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It is a beautiful place. So whenever I get out that way, it's beautiful. Well, awesome. As we wrap up, is there any last advice that you can offer our listeners? Whether it's growing their business, or looking to bring on the right talent, do the right things. I mean, what advice do you have for them?
I mean, my one piece of advice that I've seen so much success with is just hiring the right people.
Hmm.
And actually, like the employees that I have are just unbelievable. I mean, they're just incredible. And I'm so lucky, so fortunate. But there are like very specific things that you can do to find those people. There's these certain tests that you can have them take, there's these certain methods that give you like with like 98% certainty that they're going to be, a great, asset to your company. And that they're in the right role that they should be.
Yeah.
Um,
Which
and
which
there's a lot
test do
of
you
companies
like?
out there that can help with that. But I just think that is so critical.
What's your favorite? What test do you like?
There's like an aptitude test. There's a personality test. Um, and then I'm blanking on the one. Someone I just learned one from a client that I'm going to actually adapt it costs like $10,000 to $12,000 a year, but like completely
Okay.
worth it. There's the disc test that's like really
Right.
awesome. Um, there's a handful. I mean, that work incredibly well.
Yeah. Awesome. How I know we're up on time here, but how do you maintain a healthy culture and make sure that you're bringing on the right people?
It's actually a little more challenging for us because we truly are spread out. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
have people all over the country, and we have an office here, but many of them are working remotely. We were like the OG, work remote, do Zoom conferences. Like we
You were
tried
doing
to
it
do
before it was
Zoom
cool.
conferences just in 2019, and like people were like, no, like we'd rather be in person. Like I couldn't talk anyone into to save my life, but then last year happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But
guys were ahead of the curve.
we just communicate a lot, and I think we inject. It's not just all about business. It's more about building personal relationships and maintaining those. So however you can get there.
Yeah. Well, listen, Caleb, this has been really good. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed learning more about, what you do and how contractors are using it. So I appreciate that and thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. This is a blast.
Absolutely. Thanks.